What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the channel. If this is your first time with us, your chances are you're here because you want to learn about mobile or about photo editing, specifically mobile photography or something along those lines. Now, this isn't my normal content. I'm going to put that out there. Typically, what we talk about here, and if you're already a member of the community, you know this, please stick around. I promise this is still good for you. But what we typically talk about here is mobile video editing. But if you know me, if you follow me on Instagram, you know I have a love and a passion for photography, specifically mobile photography, even more specifically, like landscape photography. Well, let me show you this. Now, this is a photo I took a long time. No. Now, if you follow me on Instagram at all, you know that I have a love of photography, and it's something I'm trying to get better at. And honestly, photography made me better at filmmaking, and I'm going to get into how that all ties in. So please stick around, guys. I promise it will all tie in. But guys, we had a phenomenally crazy week last week. We had Adobe Max, which I don't know if you're a part of the Adobe community, but Adobe Max is their annual conference. They did it virtually again this year. And at this conference, they unveiled all of their new updates that came out like during the conference. And one of those was to LightRoom, their photo editing software. That is, it's mind blowing how much they've added to this software. Like, take a look at this photo I did. I'm so like overwhelmed by it. I'm going back and touching up some of my old photos because it's so much better now and so much easier. I can create looks like this one. Now, old way, this would have taken me hours of painstaking masking and color correcting and things like that to get this look. It took me 15 minutes. Like, that's how powerful this update actually is. And it really looks like this is geared a lot towards mobile photography and mobile filmmaking. There's a lot of other updates. We're going to talk about the Premiere Pro and Final Cut Pro updates in another video, and even the Mac OS updates and how that changes mobile video editing. So there's just so much to go on. So today I want to talk about LightRoom. So yeah, I don't know what else to say. Let's get it going. I want you guys to take a look at 3 photos here. One was taken with an iPhone 12 Pro Max, one was taken with an iPhone 11, and the other was taken with my Canon mirrorless camera. Can you tell the difference between the 3 photos? Maybe you can, maybe you can't. Let's go ahead and pause for a second and let you take a guess. Were you right? But do you see how just all of the attention to detail is there now? And we're able to pull things out, and it's really hard to actually tell the difference between them. Now, if you're a regular part of this community, chances are you're going to be asking me, Lar, what is this? Like, we're here for video editing. How can this help us with video editing? If you're focusing on cinematography and filmmaking without spending any time learning the nuances of photography, you're really doing yourself a huge disservice. Like I said, for me, photography, like focusing on that, has actually made me better at cinematography. It's made me better at color grading. It's made me better at framing. It's made me so much better at so many different aspects. So I definitely, if you have not started to dive in, please go ahead and take this as your message that you should do it. I'm going to be flat out. Adobe is not free, but it's not expensive. Not for just the Lightroom and Photoshop bundle, which currently I think is $10. And if you've never had an account with $10 a month, by the way. And if you've never had an account with Adobe, they usually give you it's either 2-week or 1-month free trial to try their stuff out. And you can learn it and decide if you like it. And if you do, you can just continue with it at the $10 a month. You do have to commit to a year, but $10 a month for a year, that's one less trip to McDonald's. So it's a win-win, really, if you think about it. And like I said, it makes you so much better. And I'm also going to show you how you can utilize Photoshop and Lightroom to create LUTs and other things that you're going to need, or to create a better LUT for Lumafusion. Okay? All right, so let's go ahead. Let's jump into Lightroom and let's get started. Okay, so we're gonna start with this photo. This is the one that I took on my mirrorless camera. Now, everything I'm about to do here, you're also going to be able to do on the mobile app, so keep that in mind. Okay, so everything you're gonna need is over here on the right. So we're gonna start by opening our adjustment panel. Now, as you see, you can scroll down. There's a lot of things you can do. If you are doing video editing, a lot of this stuff might look fairly similar and it might look a little different. Adobe is awesome in a lot of what it does. As you see, you can have all of these different color profiles you can use. I just stick with Adobe Color. You can adjust your exposure, your contrast, and if you look up here at the top, you're going to see you have a waveform that is changing with every touch of the button. And with like everything else in Adobe, if you make an adjustment and don't like it, just double click, it goes right back to the center. So the first thing we're going to do is right here, you see this auto button. Oh, I forgot to add that part. Anytime, if you just hover over any button, it's going to tell you exactly what that button or slider or whatever does. You just have to hover for a minute. Okay, so we're going to hit this auto button. What this is going to do is this is going to use the AI to automatically adjust your white balance and things like that. So you see how all of our sliders moved and changed, and we have a pretty clear picture here now, which I'm still going to bring down maybe to 25%. I want for this, I just want the whole picture to be shown. Okay, so underneath your white balance, I actually want just a little more contrast than what they gave. I'm going to pull the whites back a little bit and bring the blacks up, because if you look over here, we're kind of like clipping out or crushing out our black, and we're losing some detail back in there. And then I want to warm this up just a bit. And we're going to go ahead and oversaturate the entire image, but we're going to fix that in the next phase. And then you can come through on your color mixer here, and this is what we used to have to do to create these like juxtaposition between colors, is you would just have to pick a color and you can desaturate or oversaturate it, and you can change the hue of that color, things like that. And you'd have to go one by one down through, and you can still do that. You can even use your color picker here and kind of pick and adjust that hue by going left to right, things like that. But honestly and truly, I haven't even touched these since this update. Not really. I'll do some in here. Like I might want to oversaturate those oranges and the greens, just because those are your two primary colors we're working in here. And I want to put a little bit more blue in here because we're going to be playing around in this sky in a minute. So we need the blue up there. Okay, and then of course you have, for those of you that do video editing, you recognize your three color wheels here. These are your luminance values. So you can make this more red, blue, green, and then you can also adjust your saturation or your brightness on those. But again, I'm not even going to touch these right now. The next thing we want to do is you want to add just a little bit of dehaze, and that's going to take some of this haze. You see how it's clearing up that picture a little bit, but it's also darkening it a little bit. So this is another reason why I brought up those whites, because I knew the dehaze was going to take a little bit out, and we're going to add a little bit of texture. And you see how it's like really starting to show these details in here that we didn't see in the original. Now down here at the bottom, you have this little clicker here. If you hit that, you see how it goes. You can go back and forth and you can see the changes you've made and how you like them. Now look right here when I do that. Look right here in this corner, because this is where a lot of your detail is coming back to you. You see how you're seeing so much more there? And we want to reduce the noise a little bit. There is a little noise back here, and I don't really think there's a whole lot of color noise. So we'll leave that alone, but we are going to enable our lens corrections, which as soon as you do that, see if it gives me, you can actually come in here and find your lens. So I have the EFM 15 to 45 millimeter lens on here. Wait, no, it's not the 14 to 15. Yeah, 15 to 45 millimeter lens. And now again we look. You see how it's straightened out, taking some of that distortion out. And we can actually come in here and do a little bit more to straighten it. And now let's look at the difference here. Do you see the absolute difference we've already made, and we're just a few seconds in? Now's where the magic comes in. Now we're going to come in here and we're going to hit this round circle here, which is our masking tool. And here's where all of the cool changes come in. Here's what you can mask out. You can mask out the sky. You can just click the sky and the AI is automatically going to come in. It's going to think for a second and it found the sky. And that's all that is in this mask. So now any adjustments I make, I'm going to be making only to the sky, not to anything around it. It will affect, like this, if I do the brightness too high, you see it does affect the next part of the picture, but that's just because you have suddenly a very bright sky. So I'm going to bring my exposure down a little bit and my contrast up, and see how it's made it a much darker sky. But look, now we just do this a bit, bring our exposure back up. Now we have a much more blue sky. I didn't have an ND filter on my camera at the time, so the sky was really blown out. So this is where these sky adjustments come in very handy. And now we're going to click our plus here and we're going to add another sky mask, but watch what we do when we get this one. Now we're going to come here, we're going to click this, and then we're going to invert the sky selection. Now it's selected everything except the sky. So any changes I make are going to be to everything except the sky. So, we got that sky a little bluer, so let's brighten up everything out here. Again, we're going to bring our blacks up a little bit and our whites down. Yeah, pull out our shadows. And remember, when you're color grading, anything towards yellow or red is going to be considered hot. Anything towards blue is cold. We want to get this, as you see, it's very green. So we want to get a nice warm day, and we want it to feel like summer. And again, I'm going to heavily saturate it, a little more dehaze, and a little more texture. And that's looking pretty good. We have a pretty good picture. Let's look at the difference of what we had and what we have. So you can already see some really cool changes being made. Like this graffiti up here is really starting to pop out now. But we do want to make sure we're reducing any noise that we were creating. All right, let's do another mask. And this time we're going to mask based on the color range. So once you click that color range, then you come in here and you find an area. And that's the one actually that I like, because this is, so the look I'm trying to come up with is a really juxtaposition between nature and God and humanity. So I want to make sure we're really covering the buildings, but none of the nature. So we can't have the sky being too heavily masked out. And we definitely can't have any of the green getting masked out. So we want to subtract from there the sky. It's going to subtract the sky out of that mask for us. There we go. Okay, so now we have all of our buildings masked and none of the sky. So let's go ahead. We're going to barely adjust the exposure. And we can bring the temp back. We can actually, but what I'm going to do now is going to feel very crazy. I'm going to just go ahead and massively desaturate everything we've done. Now you have to be careful, because if you look here, if I go too hard, all of this wasn't added to the mask. We can add that into the mask. We can literally just click add brush, and brush this back in. We just have to be careful with doing that because we're still want to make sure those edges are nice and soft. And we can actually click this guy, and what little bit of saturation is left, we can have come into that yellow. Actually, no, I like it leaving that alone. All right, now let's go ahead and create another mask with a color range. This time we're going to go for olive the green. And it picked way more than just the green, so again, we refine our mask. And we're going to pull some of that exposure out. Cool off the temp a little bit. We're going to heavy up on the saturation and the texture. And this one we will colorize into that green area. And we're done. Now we just come up, we can crop this photo to how we like to try and create our look that we're going for. I want to make sure I have some of the sky, and I want to make sure I have some of the ground. And there you go. There's our photo. What do you guys think? That took us 5 minutes to do, 10 minutes. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next photo. This is the iPhone 12, which we're going to go ahead and do all of the lens adjustments. And the color adjustments prior to there we go. Okay, let's go into our mask. And again, we're going to start by selecting our sky. And we bring our exposure down just a little bit because as you see all the lights are on, so this looks like a nighttime scene. And cool it off. A little more heavy on the saturation. And there we go. The sky is done. So now we go in, do another sky mask, but invert it. And now we can darken this up a little bit again, make it a little more blue, chill it up, cool it off a little bit, or we can make it warmer night. We are at the dusk area, so kind of like this. Again, we're going to saturate. I'm going to add some texture. And I kind of like that. So now let's do a color range. And we're going to do the color range in the sun because I feel like the sun is our subject here. And once we do that, you see how it has selected the sun and the reflection of the sun on things. So for this one, we're only going to do the inverted because I don't really want to change that sun at all. I want to change everything around it, and I want to desaturate everything except that. And then from that mask, we're going to subtract the sky so that we don't lose those changes. And there we go. 2 minutes and we have a vastly different photo that really brings the sun out. Now I could take the time and pick all of these lights and bring those down and bring down the buildings. But honestly, we're just trying to create a really quick image here. So now let's go into the iPhone 11 photo. Now this is not a good photo to start with. It's a very small sensor. It was not very good at low light ever. Nowhere near as good at low light as the 12 Pro Max is. And this is why you have all of this noise here that looks like blur. So let's go ahead, let's adjust our colors. And let's get some texture in there. We're gonna denoise this. We'll try to denoise this as much as we can. It's still gonna be a blurry picture. And we're gonna do our lens corrections. And we're gonna change our geometry. And we've already got a much cleaner picture. Now let's go in, the same as we did. Select our sky. Pull some of that exposure back and cool it off. Let's do another everything but the sky. Again, pull back the exposure. Again, this one we're actually going to warm up just a bit so we can get that reflection onto the car, but we are going to desaturate quite a bit. And then actually we're going to hold off on desaturation because we're going to add another mask, but this time we're going to add a subject mask. And you see how it selected the car. So we want to oversaturate that car. And now we want to come back to our everything except mask. And now we want to pull some saturation out. And then we want to subtract from this mask and we want to select our subject again. And how is this looking? Well, let's go back to our car. I think our car is a little too saturated now. Turn that up quite a bit. And there we go. Pretty stellar look in just a couple of minutes. This is definitely a much better photo at a smaller scale. When you get up bigger, you see a lot of the issues with the details. I just want to show you this real quick, and then we're going to jump into how you can use this for filmmaking. I want to pull up this photo. This photo was taken 6 years ago with an iPhone 5S. And this is why I say I really think they did this with mobile filmmaking in mind and mobile photography in mind, because the 5S was horrible. Like, this was one of the worst low light cameras ever to be imagined. To give you an idea, this is what the photo looked like that I took. And you see, you have all of these pictures, but you don't have, or have all of these things, but you don't have a lot of detail. You don't have the details in the cloud. Not the way I saw it with my eye. What I saw with my eye was this, and this is what I wanted to capture. You see how now you have these shadows and curves. You have more detail in the houses than you had prior. Like, the fact that it is able to, look in this area right here, just right where I'm swirling my mouse. Look at how much detail it brought out of that house that isn't in the original photo. Like, that is how powerful this AI is. It's actually even able to pull out details that seemingly aren't there. Now, let's jump into how we can use this for filmmaking. Let's jump into Lumafusion. As you can see, I have a clip here from a video I filmed. I don't even know if I released this video. I'm not 100% sure. I think I just decided against doing this one, and I still have everything in here. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and you export a snapshot, and that's going to export a PNG of this image here, whatever's on your viewer, into your Photos app. And I took that. So once you brought it in, you come in and you want to come in, you want to right click and duplicate your layer. And then on your duplicate, you want to just go ahead and hit select and mask, select your subject, click OK. There we go. It has selected me out. Now we can go on each individual layer. And this one, you see this circle here with a slash through it. And you can create an adjustment layer. And we're going to adjust brightness and contrast first. Well, actually, let's start on our background. Let's create an adjustment layer to this. And you do those exact same adjustments. And then once you have all of your adjustments done, which we're not going to finish those like that, you're going to come in here and you're going to hit export color lookup tables And there you go. It gives you the ability to create your own LUT. You do it as a cube file because that's what Lumafusion recognizes. And when you put it inside of Lumafusion, bam, there you go. And that's pretty much all I got for you today, guys. I hope you found this to be educational and entertaining in a way. If this is content you love, please go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. If this is something you like, go ahead and hit that like button. Let me know. If you want more content like this, the easiest way is to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you will know the next time I upload. The next video I'm going to do is probably going to be on a lot of the other updates that have come out. I have some other things in the pipeline. Just bear with me. I know we just did the giveaway, which, by the way, I have chosen the name. As soon as I am ready to ship out the prize, I will make the announcement so that the person can get a hold of me and get me their address. But yes, the Lightbox is going out to someone. I think that's all I have. We do have some other giveaways coming up. I am working on creating something for you guys. That'd be really cool. So please stick around. There's a lot of really cool stuff coming. But until the next video, guys, stay safe, stay healthy, keep editing, and God bless. I hope you have a great week. Bye-bye.